Good morning, Colorado Springs. I'm Angela Jones of Brighter Day Law, and welcome again to another Brighter Day in the Neighborhood. This morning, we're meeting with Julie Speetjens.
There you go.
That's right. Sounds like Norwegians of LifeSpark Cancer Resources. How are you today, Julie?
Thank you. I'm doing well.
Good. Well, as we were just chatting before we got started, I've just found out you're a drummer. And I think I mean, we've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about, but that is so exciting to me. How did you get into drumming?
Oh, God, that's fun. Middle school.
Yeah?
Honestly, I wanted to be a saxophone player, and they needed drummers.
Oh, wow.
But it ended up being a really great thing, and my husband and I are in a band. He's a guitar player as
Oh,
well.
so do you guys perform locally?
In a very casual manner, nothing nothing professional. It's mostly backyards and basements. It's more for fun.
That's so cool. One of the things I loved doing here in Colorado Springs, and I don't think it's been open, is Johnny's Navajo Hogan over off, I guess it's Nevada and Fillmore.
Yes.
Go in there, and the bands that they bring in there are kind of, some of them are, even though they're amateur, they say they're really fantastic. Those are some of the best bands. And so your favorite genres of music that you like to perform?
Rock.
Rock?
Of all, decades, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all covers, nothing original.
What top three? Top three rock bands?
Zeppelin, Foo
Absolutely.
Fighters. I don't know. There's so many.
Yeah.
I love them all.
Yeah. Foo Fighters I'm not that familiar with, but Zeppelin, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles, Boston. Tom Petty, I know it's not a rock band, but it always goes back to Petty.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Love that. And
yeah, we have a teacher. His name is John Hall. He's with Let's Jam Colorado Springs, and he teaches kids and adults all different instruments and sets them up in bands together. And that's how we first kind of got started after
that's so cool.
a long
So I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida, and a lot of big bands and come out of that area.
Sure.
Like Tom Petty is from Gainesville, but he lived in Jacksonville when I was growing up. And my dad actually played with the guys that started Skinner and 38 Special in a garage band.
Cool.
When he was in middle school. Yeah. So that's always I always go to see. I've gone to see Skinner over and over again. Actually saw the very last show that ZZ Top put on together because Dusty just passed, and so I was in Louisville and went for that. So we got that.
Cool.
We're
we got the
vibing
music.
on that
I
whole
love
thing.
it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Why? The kids aren't the only ones who can have fun.
Exactly.
It's never too late to pick it up.
I like some of the new music, but for me, it's like the '70s Southern rock. The precursor to like rock.
Allman Brothers.
Exactly. Exactly. Precursor to some of the new country. So, but anyway, let's talk about what you're doing at LifeSpark Cancer Resources.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I am the program director at LifeSpark Cancer Resources. We are a nonprofit organization that was founded in 2005, and we match up Reiki and Healing Touch volunteers with participants who have received a cancer diagnosis, who are going through chemotherapy and radiation and surgery, and who are looking for a little extra support and pain relief and help facing the anxiety and the stress, the insomnia. Basically, Reiki and Healing Touch are energy healing modalities. And I know that sounds woo-woo, but it works and it feels amazing. And it's a wonderful, drug-free, non-invasive treatment that complements all of the other, allopathic treatments that these patients are undergoing. And it just really supports them. It helps them feel calm. It promotes a sense of well-being and relaxation. It's really a beautiful gift that we're able to give through this wonderful network of volunteers all across Colorado.
So, I mean, I've read psychological studies that indicate, that touch is so important. And especially when you're ill or as you get older in particular, that's something that's very much, it becomes, less and less common. Or like when you're a young mother and you have little kids, they're all over you all the time. And, babies who don't get held enough, you're a
Right.
failure to thrive. So, whether it's woo woo or not woo woo, whatever, I think we can all absolutely agree that to reach out and touch, another person, period, especially someone who's, dealing with health issues, and it's just, cancer's such a hard thing. I haven't had to fight that battle myself, but my dad, who I was talking to you about, lost a battle with cancer about almost 7 years ago. So it's a big deal.
It's hard. I think we've all either been touched by it or know someone who's been touched by it.
Yeah. So how did you get into Reiki or healing touch, and what's the difference between those two?
Sure. My journey to find Reiki honestly was sort of a perfect storm of grief. My best friend was in a terrible car accident, and her 8-year-old son was killed.
Oh my gosh.
So walking through that grief journey with her, also physical pain. I had to have major hip surgery. And, like many of us, I don't like being the patient. I don't like needing to be cared for. I like to be the one caring for others. And also for me, it was corporate burnout. So we had an IT consulting company, and, for a decade, we were back and forth to Manhattan. We were across the world working long hours. And, when all of that builds up and you find yourself feeling disconnected and depressed, and you have insomnia and acid reflux and eczema, all these things that stress causes
Oh,
in our
those things
bodies.
that I'm experiencing,
Those
that
things.
stress from
Yeah.
a job right now.
Yeah. Well, and if you take those symptoms to a traditional,
Sure.
general practitioner, they just want to give you an antidepressant. And I'm
Right.
not taking anything away from the miracle of modern medicine. I'm a
Absolutely.
champion. I'm here for it. Honestly, it's a beautiful thing. It can really help some people. But for me, I knew it was a Band-Aid, and I wanted to address the root cause, which
Okay.
for me was being disconnected from myself. And so I found Reiki as a more natural solution to really reconnect with this higher sense of self and purpose. I think we're all sort of hoping that there's more to life than just eat, sleep, work, run some errands, raise the kids, pay the bills, rinse and repeat. I think we're all looking for a higher purpose and a higher meaning to all of it. And I found it through Reiki.
We were talking about that. Well, I have a couple of, I have this little habit with my staff, like of speaking to them in memes. I do it every morning. I give them this meme. One of the ones this past week had to do with, it was basically Maslow's hierarchy of needs and leading to the very top, and Maslow, talks about that as like self-actualization, but the way it was described here is purpose, like finding your purpose and then focusing on fulfilling it. And so I think that's, when you get past that basic survival mode, when you're past that and you find that you're okay, you're safe, you have all the things you basically need, then we're able to look out and, serve others. And it sounds like you went through all of those, like you were kind of in that survival mode, and then you got where you were okay, and then able to give to others. But walk me through that transition that, in corporate America, on the flights, burning it at both ends, not feeling well, and then boom, I'm a healing touch teacher or program director.
Right. That's quite a shift from a left brain, corporate world
Yeah,
to
especially with the
right
IT.
brain. Right.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Although
Well, and I was a project manager and a CFO, so
Okay.
we're talking as left brain
Right. Yeah.
as it
yeah.
gets.
Right.
Yeah. So I came to Reiki first, obviously, as a client, as a patient, looking for some calm and some healing. And then it sparked something within me, and I became a student. And there are 3 levels to the Reiki training in the lineage that I was taught. Reiki 1, 2, and then 6 months later, Reiki Master, 6 months later, Karuna Reiki. And as I took the classes, and then suddenly I found I was walking around all day with my hands and feet tingling as those
Ooh.
chakras were opening up and the energy was running through me. And suddenly I realized, as much as this is serving me, I think I'm meant to serve other people. And so I started practicing on friends and family. And then I stepped into an established practice at the Reiki place. And then, the universe kind of keeps knocking, and everyone kept saying to me, you're supposed to be teaching. So now I'm teaching Reiki classes, and now I have my own studio. It's Soaring Heart Energies. I'm at the Lotus Spa here in Colorado Springs. It's near North Academy and Vickers. And along the way, in wanting to serve and give back, I found LifeSpark. And, both my grandparents passed from cancer. And honestly, being able to serve people and walk with them and hold space with them through their healing journey has honestly been so gratifying to me personally that it lights me up. I love it.
So from your perspective and understanding, what is the Reiki process? What is actually happening when you're working with someone in that way?
That's an excellent question. So whatever your framework for it is fine. It's chi, it's prana, it's life force energy. We're all made of energy. We're energetic beings first. And we're all connected by energy. And when we tune into Reiki, we're channeling life force energy. And basically, you've heard of your aura and your chakras.
You've heard of, yes.
You've heard of them. They're real. And they're really important. They're actually the first layer of our immune system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, as we go through our days, we experience this full spectrum of emotions. And literally, those lower frequency emotions, they're neurochemical reactions. They actually vibrate at different frequencies. And neurobiologists call it the negativity bias. And what that is those lower frequency emotions are like Velcro. They literally stick in our biofield, in our energy, whereas those higher frequency emotions are like Teflon. They slide out of our experience. It's why we need a constant reinforcement of positive.
Tell me more about that, because this is interesting. One of the, I work with a business coach that has, that we've done these assessments of like where on the energy spectrum, like low energy, like functional level 1 is like when you're angry and hostile and bitter and it's palpable to people around you. You can meet someone and automatically know. I think some of it's observation, like body language and different kind of things like that. But I think even sometimes without speaking or anything, you can just get a
feel.
vibe,
You do.
Of that low energy all the way up to essentially level 7 is what it's described is sort of like this self-actualization level, or, and I think the way some other people would say, it's like you're just experiencing like joy or peace or oneness, you know what I mean? That type of thing, depending on sort of your religious or, constructual view about that type of thing.
Yep.
So talk a little bit more about those levels of energy and those types of things.
Sure. So I think the way I like to think about it is, like I said, energy is energy, or emotions are energy in motion. And we tend to sort of stuff them down, and it's like knots or wounds or tangles, and it's energetically, it's like hair in the drain. It clogs us up. And so what Reiki does, it's like pouring hot water over ice cubes is how I think about it. It's helping release those knots, those wounds, those tangles that we're all holding on to, because over time they can manifest into physical symptoms. So part of Reiki is addressing that on the front end, helping us release those emotions so that they don't then manifest, if we're worried about something at work and we've got a stomach ache. Over time that becomes acid reflux maybe. We're in a fight with our partner, we're in a stressful relationship, that can turn into high blood pressure. It starts in our energy field first. So Reiki flushes that out. It gets our energy moving so that we feel healthy, so that our body can, function at its optimal levels. And really how that feels is pretty amazing. So since you love music, when it lights you up and like gives you goosebumps?
Yeah.
Reiki, I get waves of that, giving and receiving. It's relaxing. A lot of our, especially the LifeSpark patients, find a sense of inner peace and well-being. It's a little different for everybody depending on what they need, but it's just a really natural way to reset your system into a more authentic state of well-being.
Okay. So you're listening and watching us on Another Brighter Day in the Neighborhood. I'm Angela Jones, and we're here with Julie Speetjens.
You got it.
I got it right again. Of LifeSpark Cancer Resources. So, all right. Just delving into it, I mean, because you keep saying Reiki does, Reiki this. I mean, how was this discovered? Like, I mean, people come up with ideas for things, but what's the origin of Reiki, or how did anyone come upon this as an idea or methodology in the first place?
Sure. I think it's ancient. I think it's been with us always. If you have a Christian background, Jesus was a healer. The laying on of hands is not something new.
Right.
Reiki was reintroduced in the early 1900s in Japan. A Tibetan Buddhist monk fasted for 21 days in a sacred area called Mount Karama in Japan. And on the 21st day, he was gifted with this ability to tap into the life force energy. And he had a clinic in Tokyo where he taught other Reiki masters and created this system. And it's really, I think it's a re-gift. Like I said, I think it's been around for a long time.
Right.
But I think it's growing. 30 years ago, there wasn't a yoga studio on every corner, but there is now. And so that's my hope for Reiki, is that it will grow like that, and also for Healing Touch, both of, which are wonderful energy healing modalities with very similar outcomes and sensations for the patient.
I just think it's real interesting. I mean, I think from a physics standpoint, what you're saying is definitely supported by science.
Yes.
And I think there are, things, because I'm a Christian, and I have that understanding of, like, God spoke and energy was reorganized, by that, by his command or what have you. And if you really break us all down, especially our bodies, and I personally believe that, our bodies in this world is a place that we're housed right now, and that we're really spiritual beings, and this is really just a stop along the way, and God has his purpose for it. And so I think a lot of what you're saying makes sense, and that type of thing. But it's always interesting to me, is sort of like this way that we as human beings sort of will, grab a hold of that truth, or a piece of truth, and then sort of, begin to understand it or explain it, like gravity. Like, how ever in the world did someone all of a sudden like, oh, there's this law of gravity, and I just figured it out, and it's always existed, but what you do with that, or what you can do with that, or what you can't do with that, has always been interesting to me. And I think it's very interesting that you've found this purpose for yourself, in giving to other people.
Right.
So,
well, and I think that it speaks to our human, need to validate and explain and compartmentalize and articulate things in a scientific way, which is why I love reading all of these wonderful studies about the efficacy of Reiki and Healing Touch. Harvard released a study saying that people receiving Reiki and Healing Touch felt less pain, less anxiety, less depression, less nausea, less fatigue. There have been a lot of studies showing just how it truly helps people. It can be subtle, and I think especially as Americans, we want the flashing billboard, we want to take a pill. And it does require a little bit of receptivity. I always tell people, by all means, be skeptical, but be receptive, because you might really find some healing value in it for you. Right.
Well, how about, let's use like a practical application type of thing. Like, not too long ago, I have a friend, and this friend like just got upset about something I said, and by taking it kind of the wrong way, and it was really upsetting to me that she was upset. And at the time I didn't have an opportunity to go, wait, that's, I don't know why are you mad? That I wasn't meaning whatever it is you seem to have been, thinking I meant. And in the interim between when the offense occurred and when I was able to speak to her about the offense, I mean, I'm telling you, the back of my like neck and head down into my shoulders became very tense, like that, because that's where I hold
Right.
my stress, and because it was, that's where that, I don't know about anxiety, but it was definitely, I felt distraught, over this. So what type of application would Reiki have in that type of a situation? Like, let's just say I never did get that opportunity to speak and diffuse that negative energy that I was carrying through reconciliation and discussion or what have you. And that's often the case. I mean, we, can be offended or offend and not have that ability to come back with someone else, and then we carry it in the body. So I absolutely believe that, we carry things that have happened in our physicality.
Sure.
So
Yeah, we've all had trauma. We've all had misunderstandings.
yeah.
For me, Reiki, it's almost like it raises your inner peace baseline. That's how I describe it. It's this deep sense of peace and well-being, and healing touch as well. And if you have, taken the classes and become attuned, is what we say, to the energy, you can treat yourself. So you can calm yourself. You can send Reiki to another person. You can send Reiki to a situation, to a conflict. You can send it to natural disasters.
Is it similar to prayer in that respect?
Exactly. For me, it feels like prayer in action. So when we see something, in our lives or on TV, and, we want to send our thoughts and prayers, for me, Reiki and healing touch is the next step. It's how we put it into action. So you end up feeling like you're actually really doing something. Prayer is powerful. Prayer is
Absolutely.
powerful. To me, these energy healing modalities are just the next logical step to empower, uplift, to enlighten ourselves and everyone around us.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I think prayer is definitely powerful because, and this is just my perspective, is that, when we pray, then we activate the ultimate, action, if that makes sense. But I can definitely see that, sometimes when we pray, then God gives us a part to do. And so when you're talking about that next logical step, because, and I think it's been said even in, some of my studies, that faith without action, it's like, okay, I have faith, but then you start to walk in it.
Right.
So when you know that you have, good things to offer to a situation and you offer those to the situation, that's like faith in action. And I think in that way we're seeing it the same.
Right.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. I would.
Okay.
And what's nice about Reiki and healing touch is it's not a religion. You
Right.
don't have to believe in anything
Exactly.
to receive the healing benefits of the energy or to learn how to give it.
Yeah.
So it's open to everyone. There's how many religions are there
Yeah.
in the world? I don't know, but there are Reiki
Right.
practitioners and Reiki masters and healing touch
Yeah.
practitioners all around the world of all different faith frameworks.
Yeah.
And people of no faith.
Absolutely.
It meets you where you are
Yeah.
and just takes you to that next step.
That's the same way with God, I think. The
Yeah.
exact same way.
Yeah.
We are all beneficiaries of the goodness that is in the universe that God created, or whether people believe it was God or maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm wrong about that whole thing and God.
Goddess, call it what you want.
Whatever,
Yeah.
exactly. I might be wrong, but I'll take my chances.
Right.
I'll take my
Yeah.
chances on that one.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, Reiki and healing touch,
Yeah.
it's love, and love heals
Absolutely.
if we let it.
Absolutely. I love that. I really love that. Well, I appreciate you joining us here today.
Thank you so much.
How can people get in touch with you? Now, I think you went by relatively quickly where they can reach you outside of the LifeSpark Cancer Resources. But where can they get a hold of you specifically? And then how can people also get a hold of you at LifeSpark, for their loved ones or if they're dealing with cancer themselves?
Yeah. So if you are interested, in whether it's in volunteering or donating,
Let's talk more about that. Let's dive into those two things.
Yeah. So all of that you can sign up at the LifeSpark website. It's lifesparknow.org. And as far as volunteering, if you are attuned to Reiki, you can be a level 1, 2. You don't have to be a master or a teacher. We're always looking for new Reiki and Healing Touch volunteers. We have about 120 active volunteers now. We've served more than 4,500 people. And actually now it's across about 20 states. It used to be just Colorado, and we are still focused in Colorado. But we are always looking for new volunteers. And as I mentioned, if you want to donate, we are a nonprofit. Or if you are struggling with cancer or someone you know or love is struggling with cancer, they can sign up at lifesparknow.org to receive these free healing sessions. It typically lasts about 8 weeks. Typically it'll be a 1-hour session once a week. And certainly you can email me. My email address is julie@lifesparknow.org.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to just identify the station real quick, and then we're going to come back and talk with you a little bit more about you.
All right.
Okay. So you're listening to A Brighter Day in the Neighborhood with Angela Jones on KPPF. So I think we've talked a lot about Reiki. I love that. I love what you're doing here in the community. But one of the things I really like to do for our listeners and for myself is to kind of like get that behind the scenes, like what drives you. And I know now what you do, but a little bit more about who you are. Like, where are you from and what brought you to Colorado Springs and those types of things.
Sure. So I was an Army brat, lived all over. Graduated from the University of Alabama a long time ago.
So Bama.
Yeah, roll Tide.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap this up. No.
Yeah. I was an
I'm a
environmental
ball, so there's that.
Oh, look out.
SEC gals right here.
Okay,
We have
all
so
right.
much in common, Julie.
Yeah, Rocky Top. Yeah, it's a good thing.
That's right.
Let's see. Yeah, I was an environmental science major, and then I was home raising children for 10 years, which is the hardest and most rewarding job I think there is
Yeah.
to this day.
How many kids do you have?
Two boys, one up at Boulder, go Buffs,
Okay.
and one at Air Academy High School.
Nice.
Yeah. And I landed here. I guess my parents retired here, and we would come out for vacation, and eventually we just stayed.
So you're Army brat here.
Army brat
Okay.
here, yeah.
And so in my family's retired military, my husband, though, 36 years in the Army. So was your dad was in the Army?
My dad was in the Army.
So
yeah.
where did you guys get to live? Like, where are the most memorable places you lived growing up?
Goodness. Let's see. I lived everywhere from Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, to Quantico, Virginia, to Huntsville, Alabama. My dad was in the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Defense Program.
Wow.
I know, right? That's a mouthful.
So my husband did missile defense as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, he was
Small
with
world.
RSTRAT, SMDC. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad worked in the Pentagon for a while, and then at
Yeah.
Redstone Arsenal, and then I married a man who was an IT consultant, and we built a company together and traveled just as much as consultants as I did in the Army.
Right.
But this is my favorite place by
So
far.
did you guys meet in Colorado Springs, you and your husband?
No, actually, we met at the University of Alabama.
Oh, wow.
We've been married a long time.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I think it's been really interesting to watch him sort of come to terms, because if you think had a left brain history, I'll tell you my IT consultant biochemist husband has struggled a little bit with this, massive shift to, Reiki master.
Is that what he's doing as well now?
He's still in IT.
Oh, okay.
He's still in IT.
All right.
Yeah.
So, but that's got to make for some interesting conversations.
It does. And I'll tell you, since I've started giving him Reiki, he has become a vegan. He has quit drinking. He has become a marathon runner. I'm not saying it's all the Reiki, but it's definitely helped. It plants these little positive seeds that empower people to make healthier choices.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times, and I'm speaking for myself, there are certain vices that you rely on
Sure,
to
coping
relieve
mechanisms.
stress or to cope or to what have you. And they're not always the healthiest choices.
They're generally not. Yeah.
Especially if you're from the South, they tend to
Food and drink.
be food and drink
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah, absolutely.
smoke a little smoke, drink drink a little drink. Is that what it is, or is it the opposite? I think Eric Church, maybe it's drink a little drink, smoke a little smoke, but however it goes.
Right.
And that's, of course, another vice that, no judgment here, but in Colorado, with medicinal use of marijuana and recreational use of marijuana, that it's, I personally think, probably a bit more healthy than many pharmaceutical things, but it's still medicating.
Right.
You
It's
know,
a
with,
distraction.
yeah.
Largely, I think it's a distraction. And I think that the coping mechanisms that we learn when we're trying to survive are different than the ones that we need when we're ready to thrive.
Right.
And for me, Reiki, that was my commitment to myself. I'm ready to feel better. I think we all deserve to feel better. And sometimes we just need a little help figuring out how we can do that in a healthy way.
Right. So you said Colorado. We're going to have to end up, because I'm really just getting into this now. But well, I was into it before, but like I'm really getting interested to talk to you more.
Yeah.
But we only have about a minute or so left. So you said Colorado Springs was your very favorite place.
Everywhere I've lived in the world, Colorado Springs is my favorite.
Well, I think most of us who live here in Colorado Springs would absolutely agree with you. Although I've heard a few naysayers, but so people feel free to fight me on this one. But I mean, this just like it's just the best place, and I know is like also military brought us here. That I can't be more pleased to have settled here and to be serving the Colorado Springs community.
Yeah, it's a beautiful community, and I'm just thrilled to be part of it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're about to have to sign off here, but please let us know anytime you're available to come back and
I'd
talk a
love
little
to.
bit more. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us for another Brighter Day in the Neighborhood. We'll be here this Sunday and every Sunday at this same time and spot. Until we see you again, have brighter days.